Your brain has been lying to you your entire life. And the terrifying part is, it's doing it right now while you watch this. You believe you are a rational person. You make decisions based on evidence. You evaluate facts. You form opinions through careful, logical thought. You don't. Your brain, the 3-pound organ making every decision you've ever made, every judgment you've ever formed, every opinion you've held with absolute certainty, is running a near constant campaign of misinformation, selective evidence gathering, and reality distortion. Not because it's broken, not because you're stupid, because that's what it was designed to do. Your brain is not a fact-finding machine. It is a storytelling machine that will fabricate, distort, and selectively ignore reality in order to maintain a narrative it decided on before you were even conscious of the situation. It does this millions of times a day. It is doing it right now. Let's start with the foundational conspiracy theorist move, only paying attention to evidence that supports what you already believe. Psychologists call this confirmation bias. Your brain calls it research. Here's what happens. You form a belief about a person, a political issue, a diet, a sports team, whatever. From that moment forward, your brain begins operating as a filter. Information that confirms your belief, flagged, saved, filed under proof. Information that challenges your belief, barely registered, forgotten within minutes. Sometimes actively reinterpreted until it seems to support you anyway. A 2009 study by Jonas et al. Found that people spend significantly more time reading articles that agree with their views than articles that challenge them, even when they're explicitly told to evaluate both sides fairly. They thought they were being balanced. They were not being balanced. And here's where it gets properly unsettling. The smarter you are, the better you are at this. Researchers have found that people with higher cognitive ability are actually more skilled at rationalizing their way around evidence that threatens their existing beliefs. They just construct more sophisticated sounding justifications for ignoring it. Your brain doesn't want to be right. It wants to feel right. Those are completely different things, and your brain will sacrifice one for the other every single time. The good news, knowing this helps. The bad news, knowing this doesn't make it stop. The conspiracy theorist who spends hours researching online and only finds things that confirm their theory? That's not a unique pathology. That's a standard brain running hot. They're just doing it about a different topic than you. What kills more Americans per year? Shark attacks or vending machines? Vending machines. Vending machines kill approximately 4 times as many Americans per year as sharks. If I asked you to guess before I told you that, almost every single person would have said sharks. Because when you think of a dangerous vending machine encounter, your brain comes up mostly blank. When you think of a shark attack, it generates a vivid, terrifying, HD mental image with a John Williams soundtrack. This is the availability heuristic. Your brain estimates how likely something is based not on actual data, but on how easily it can picture it. Things that are dramatic, emotional, visual, or recent feel more likely than things that are boring and consistent. Plane crashes get wall-to-wall coverage. Car crashes, which kill 40,000 Americans per year, roughly 100 people per day, get traffic updates. So your brain thinks flying is terrifying and driving is fine? The actual statistics say the opposite so loudly that they're practically screaming. This is why people dramatically change their behavior after a terrorist attack, statistically one of the least likely ways to die in a developed country, and don't change their behavior at all after seeing the actual leading causes of death, which are mostly just boring lifestyle choices repeated daily. Your brain is not tracking frequency, it's tracking vividness. The conspiracy theorist says, "I keep hearing about this. It must be everywhere." And so do you. About different things. Every single day. In 1999, psychologists David Dunning and Dunning-Kruger published one of the most depressing and important studies in the history of cognitive science. They tested people on logic, grammar, and humor, then asked those people to estimate how well they'd done. The people who performed in the bottom quarter dramatically overestimated their performance. They thought they were doing great. Some thought they were performing in the top half. The people who performed in the top quarter slightly underestimated themselves. The conclusion, since replicated many times over, is uncomfortable. The skills required to be good at something and the skills required to recognize that you're bad at something are largely the same skills. So when you lack competence, you also lack the self-awareness to notice that you lack competence, which means the people most confident in their wrong answers are the people least equipped to realize they're wrong. The expert who spent 30 years studying immunology hedges. They say, the evidence suggests They say, we're fairly confident. They say, there are still open questions. The person who read 3 blog posts says, I've done my research. And the person who read 3 blog posts feels more certain, because they don't know enough to know what they don't know. This is not unique to them. This is a brain thing, your brain thing, my brain thing. The Dunning-Kruger Effect doesn't spare anyone. The best you can do is learn enough about a topic that you start to appreciate its complexity, at which point your confidence appropriately drops. The moment you become a little more humble about something is usually the moment you've actually started to understand it. The conspiracy theorist's absolute certainty is not evidence of knowledge. It's a warning sign of its absence. Make of that what you will. Humans are the only animals on Earth that tell stories, not just as entertainment, as the primary way we understand reality. Your brain does not process the world as data. It processes it as narrative. Events need causes. Actions need motives. Patterns need explanations. Things happen for reasons. And if a reason isn't obvious, your brain will invent one rather than tolerate uncertainty. This is called narrative bias, and it's so fundamental to human cognition that it's difficult to even think outside of it. Here's a demonstration. In 1944, Fritz Heider and Marianne Simmel showed participants a short film. In the film, a large triangle, a small triangle, and a circle moved around a rectangle on screen. That's it, geometric shapes moving. When asked to describe what happened, virtually every participant described a story, a bully and a victim, a romance, a rescue. They assigned personalities, motives, and emotions to literal triangles. Your brain cannot watch events without making them a story. It is constitutionally incapable of it, which means whenever something complex, systemic, or random happens in the world, an economic crash, a disease outbreak, a political shift, your brain will not accept a lot of complicated factors interacted in messy ways as the explanation. That's not a story. That has no villain, no motive, no narrative arc. A shadowy group planned this is a story. It has characters. It has intent. It is satisfying in the way that stories are satisfying. The conspiracy theory isn't popular because people are gullible. It's popular because it is, narratively speaking, much better written than reality. Reality is often just chaos, incompetence, and systems failing in boring ways. That is a terrible story. The brain rejects it. Every conspiracy theory is, at its core, a really compelling narrative your brain finds more satisfying than the messy truth. Your brain is a novelist. Reality is not always a good novel. So, your brain lies to you, filters your evidence, overestimates your competence, invents patterns, backfires when corrected, replaces reality with a better story. Are you a conspiracy theorist? In some ways, yes. We all are. The underlying machinery is the same in every human brain. Confirmation bias, availability heuristic, narrative hunger. These aren't disorders. They're features. They kept us alive in environments very different from the ones we're in now, where the threats are YouTube comment sections and financial markets instead of predators and rival tribes. The question isn't whether your brain does this. It does. Every brain does. The question is whether you notice. The researchers who study these biases are subject to these biases. The therapists who treat irrational thinking have irrational thinking. The neuroscientists who mapped the backfire effect have presumably experienced the backfire effect. Knowing about cognitive biases doesn't immunize you against them, but it gives you the faintest possibility of catching yourself mid-pattern, of asking, am I seeing this clearly, or am I seeing what I want to see? That tiny gap between the automatic thought and the examined thought is where rationality actually lives. It's a small window. Your brain will try to close it. It has billions of years of evolutionary momentum on its side, but it's there. And now at least you know where to look. Your brain hates that I just said that, by the way. It's already generating reasons why this video doesn't apply to you specifically. Notice that. Good luck out there. If this video made you feel uncomfortably seen, I have good news. The video on the right is about how the human body is doing equally suspicious things without your knowledge or consent. It pairs well. The video on the left will tell you why you can't stop watching videos like this one, which is itself a cognitive bias, and I'm not sorry. Subscribe if you'd like your brain gently challenged on a regular basis.